listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
5 speaking points you need to improve on for your IELTS test. So we all know that speaking doesn't just consist of mastery of the English grammar rules, but it's also that spontaneous skill to form a sentence, to construct it, and then to deliver it. And the difference here is that we're using our speaking mind, not our writing mind. So that means we can't really go back and edit it once we've said it. So once you've said it, it's out there, and it's out there forever. So the objective here is, within a limited amount of time in the exam, is to consolidate your thoughts into a logical answer and ensure that your delivery is smooth. Okay? It's kind of tricky. However, we're going to look at 5 points we can work on, and these directly correspond to the marking criteria. We'll look at them, and then I'll give you some tips on how to improve them. So the first one we're going to look at is fluency. That basically means speaking without any unnecessary stops or pauses, which might have been caused by hesitation, stuttering, or thinking about the next thing to say. Now, here's how we develop fluency. Here's some tips. So, while we're talking, what we could do is, if we know we're coming to the end of a sentence or thought, what we can do is extend the last syllable of the word, and this will give you some thinking time. This will give you a few extra seconds to construct or to deliver your next point. Another way to extend what you're going to talk about is to give more detail, okay? To extend the definition, extend the description or the explanation. So we've talked about this before, but in a different way. But if you get a topic, something like, the examiner says, describe a very difficult topic you had at high school and how you overcame these difficulties. Or you could say, maths was very difficult, but then what you could also say was, maths was very difficult for me personally because I don't feel I have a natural skill for numbers, especially algebra, blah, blah, blah. And then you could even go into describing the teacher and how the teacher made it difficult or made it easier or whatever. So you can just expand on little points as you're speaking. This way you can just go on and on and on, which I don't recommend you do, but if you do feel that your answers might be a little bit short, then this would be a good way to extend them. Now, the next point is pronunciation. So this deals with the proper way of saying the words. Traditionally, this was thought of as standard English, or what's called received pronunciation, what you used to hear on the BBC a lot. Nowadays, the BBC's taken more to regional accents, so you might hear an Irish accent, a Mancunian accent, a Liverpudlian accent, or whatever. But the importance here is being understood. Okay? So to improve pronunciation, what we can do is we can study the proper position of your tongue within your mouth. Okay? So if you've got a doubt about a word, you can go online and just say how to pronounce, necessary, and find out where the actual position of your tongue should be in relation to your teeth, or what you should be doing with air, and where you should be placing it, and how you should be moving your lips. And an easier way to do it, that's a very technical way. Another way would be to get the headphones on and just try and mimic, try and copy it. Okay? Now, another way is to have a look at the dictionary and find out where the stress is on each word. And here's another tip. If you speak slower and more open, and you open your mouth, then it's usually clearer, it's usually easier for the person to understand you. And slowing down and taking pauses will also increase the comprehension for the listener. And here's another tip that I learned from a singing tutor. Is not only should you fill your lungs up with air and get correct posture, but what you can also do as well is imagine seeing the words coming out of your mouth. And what this does is it increases the clarity significantly. And it seems a little bit weird at first, but if you can just imagine yourself projecting the words coming out of your mouth, so as you're talking, you just see them flying across, then this increases the comprehension of the listener considerably. And I know that for a fact because I tried it in classes. The next point is coherence. So this is linking all your ideas in an organized way. And it shows that they're related. So a good way to do this, a good way to practice this, is to look at a well-prepared paragraph. Now, if you're doing the sentence guide course, you'll see that there's a structure for the paragraphs and it's really easy to construct. And that's how you should be delivering your answers. And so you could just start off with first and then go into a little bit more detail. So going back to the question about maths, about difficult subjects, what you can do is construct your answer in a similar way to as you would construct a paragraph. So you'd start off with, well, mathematics for me personally was a terrible subject. This is because blah, blah, blah. And go into detail, go into more detail and go into maybe talking about the teacher, maybe giving an example. And then to close your speech or your answer, you could just rephrase the question. So you would say, you've been talking about mathematics being a difficult subject, and now what you're going to say is, and that's why mathematics was a difficult subject for me. And then you just leave it there, because I know a lot of students can have or find it difficulty determining when to stop. So if you just give the examiner a signal, like rephrasing the question, closing it off, then it's just a clear way to show that you're ready for the next question or you've got nothing more to say about it. And to help you structure your answer, we can also use the signal words like first, next, then, in addition, and all the rest of it. And that's more or less in the middle of your presentation or speech. Okay? Next point, grammatical accuracy and range, or grammatical range and accuracy is more commonly known. So this is where we adhere to the rules. This is where we follow the rules. Now, a very good way to do this is to, when you learn a word, try to learn it as a chunk. Try to learn 5 words at a time. Okay? So quite a funny example is a friend of mine. I was asking how his wife is getting on, learning English, how she's progressing, and he replied with a screenshot of a conversation, and it was all in Spanish because my friend speaks Spanish, and then the last 2 words he says, how about the pub this evening? And then she replied, not in your wildest dreams. Okay, so it was all in Spanish, and then he said, what about the pub this evening? And she replied, not in your wildest dreams. Okay, and she could have just said, no way, but she managed to construct the whole sentence. It was all grammatically perfect, and it was grammatically perfect because she'd learnt it as a chunk. She didn't learn wild, she didn't learn dreams, She learnt it not in your wildest dreams. Okay? And that's a very good example of just how if you can learn a chunk, then you've got it all in succession and you've got it grammatically perfect. Okay? So, and you can do in this way as well, you can learn a lot of different structures. Okay? And what's also useful is that you can interchange the vocabulary learnt in that structure. Okay? So to give you an example, with that structure we used before, not in your wildest dreams, okay, we can use the structure again and we could say not in a month of Sundays. And that just means basically never. And it's a less personal way. So if somebody says, have you ever shopped in Walmart? And maybe the person is quite posh, so they could answer, never in a month of Sundays. Yeah? And that just basically means never. And slightly different meaning to the one before, but a very similar structure and also grammatically perfect. So that's one of the advantages of using chunking. Now then, next one. Lexical resource, your vocabulary. So, let's just see. With this one, the best way to practice it is as soon as you come across a word that you've never seen before, what you need to do is write it down and write the words that came before it and the words after it, so you've got it in context. And also, this will help you with the chunking we were talking about before. And a fantastic resource for this is the Amazon Kindle, or probably other ebook readers. And while you're reading, you just click on the word, gives you the dictionary definition, but it also saves it afterwards. So once it's saved, you can review it and you can check what it means and you can check it in context, and then you can test your knowledge by using flashcards, which are also on the Kindle. So doing this way, you're building your vocabulary and it's all automatic. I mean, it's also good writing down the words, but this is a very efficient way because if you're reading, you just want to keep reading and you just tap it twice. You've got the definition and it's saved, and then you can review them all together at a different point. And I think it makes it into a game as well. So that's good, some good practice there. And it's easy and it's quick and it's efficient. All right. So check that out. That's a good way to build your vocabulary. Another way is that if you know that you've got absolute zero interest in sports, then start reading the sports papers, because that's going to be a weak spot, a weak area in your vocabulary. All you have to do is just read maybe one article a day while you're having your coffee in the morning. And doing this will just help you build your areas and cover your blind spots. So in the test, if you get a question about sport, then you're not going to be penalised. And likewise, maybe you don't like business or economics. Well, just start reading one article from the business press in the newspaper or online probably, and soon you'll start improving your vocabulary. Okay? Now then, so that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about regarding speaking. If you're still having problems, remember you can get feedback. There's the Speaking Confidence course at sentenceguide.com, and that just works on all the different skills. It gets you familiar with the exam and gives you heaps more techniques and tips to improve. And also you get the advantage, you get the benefit of actually applying the techniques. So, and by applying the techniques before the exam, you do improve your confidence levels significantly. Right then, have a great day. Thank you for listening. And just a few things. If you haven't gone over to Facebook yet, go over there, click like, and there's loads of tips coming out every day and just quick tips to help you get through the exam. Also, remember to sign up to the email newsletter, and there's loads of advice going out on there. And yeah, if you've got any difficulties, anything you want to share, or maybe you've just passed IELTS and you're over the moon, and yeah, I love getting emails like that actually. Send me your story, please, and perhaps we could even do an interview together. All the best and have a fantastic day. Thank you.